I'm back. And I need music up. Why did that happen? I don't know. I don't know. Let me... Ah. I need my bot up. Can you hear me again? Hopefully everything's working now. Oi. Yeah, there was nothing heavy. It wasn't anything heavy, it wasn't anything too crazy, so I'm not too sure what happened. And I didn't kick anything as well. Yeah. But damn, I have two VODs for today now. No! Damn it! Maybe you hurt your PC emotionally? Ow! Thanks for the follow, MK Bakira. Ow! I'm not that mean. Oh no, it's not moving. Because when I do the there's an order. I'm supposed to open things in a certain order. It was less than an hour. I know it's like 50 minutes. Now it's moving. It's so frustrating. Ads as well. We'll just wait. We'll wait for the ads to be over. Well, that was a first. It never blue screened on me before. Wait for the ads to come, then I realized I've been subbed. Let's just wait for the bots and everything to catch up first. I'm clenching for the ads, then I remember. How about your Monday? I've been chilling. Oh yeah, I feel like I should have a little pre-warning or whatever. Over the next few weeks, I will be a little bit off. I was put on new antidepressants. So it's just that first week, first few weeks, I'll be a little bit off. Ay, ay, ay. No need to force. No, I'm fine. It's not as strong as the previous ones. So it's not kicking my ass yet. Um yeah, it's not kicking my ass yet. And also, my mum might be coming. I know I keep saying my mum might be coming, but she actually might be coming. I'll have to check with her. When she does, it will be around a week. I'll have to take off next month. Chat's pretty freaky. What? No, she doesn't know about the stream. She doesn't know about the streaming. Yeah, so I'll. What's the worst thing you felt with the meds? I just started this one. Previously, it just kicked my butt. It just made everything worse. And then getting off it was kind of bad as well because I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I didn't taper myself off it. I cold turkeyed it. So yeah, that was bad. I had enough self-awareness to know I shouldn't be doing it. I had enough self-awareness, okay? I'm back. Oh, damn. What do you mean, damn? Bye. Okay. It didn't notify? Oh. Because Twitch notification, you can opt in to get notifications, but it doesn't always work. I realize that people don't really get notifications from me. What's the worst thing that could happen? It was a reason for, okay, after I quit my job, my previous job, I took a 5-month break. And during the 5-month break, that was when I was recovering. Almost fell asleep in my butt. No, stop doing that. Hello, Kuro. Yeah, I blue screened for no reason. What usually causes a blue screen? Huh? What do you miss? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing is missed. What usually happens? Hardware errors? But it came back so quickly. You know what? I'm gonna quickly message my brother since it's his computer. Software errors? Hello. Hello, YouTube. Easy. Let me just message him. Forgot to stop doing that, Jamin. The weirdest B-sod? What's a B-sod? A mouse is causing it? Oh, blue screen of the off. The USB was grounded? Oh. Jamin, stop it. Stop. 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 Okay. Disconnected everything, turned it on, it was fine. Oh, that was years ago. Oh, he just messaged me back. He's fast. It wasn't a full blue screen, it was a transparent full screen. Blue screen. Fresh toast. Hmm. It did I'm messaging my brother, sorry. He said many causes, so that doesn't help. Just means something broke. Oh no. But it's fine now. It's not overheating, is it? Not overheating. Okay. He just said just see if it happens regularly. I was like, okay. It only happened once today. I don't think it overheated. I didn't have any games open. I have a lot of windows open, but I don't think it's that because I'm just touching my tower right now. I don't think it's overheating. Doesn't feel like it. It's blowing a lot of air, but it's not warm. Only best I can do is monitor, yeah. Sometimes you gotta crash your PC multiple times to know the problem. Ah, true, true. Ow. I don't know what the error was. It was really short. No, as in like it the blue screen didn't last long. It only lasted like 1 or 2 seconds. It disappeared as soon as I figured out what was going on. So I actually don't know what happened. I didn't even have enough time to like process. And it restarted pretty quickly after as well. Shall we continue? Oh yeah, Anne's calling the geranium Bonnie. Goodness, I don't care. Where on earth is the sense of naming a geranium? Thanks for following Glitch Pie. Your PC fell by YOLO, blue screen of death, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like things to have handles, even if they are only geraniums. It makes them seem more like people. How do you know? How do you know, but how do you know but that it hurts a geranium's feelings just to be called a geranium and nothing else? You wouldn't like to be called nothing but a woman all the time. Yes, I shall call it Bonnie. I named that cherry tree outside my bedroom window this morning. I called it Snow Queen because it was so white. Of course, it won't always be in blossom, but one can imagine it is, can't one? I never in all my life saw or heard anything to be equal her. And saw or heard anything to equal her, muttered Marilla, beating a retreat down to the cellar after potatoes. She is kind of interesting, as Matthew says. I can feel already that I'm wondering what on earth he'll say next. She'll be casting a spell over me too. She's cast it over Matthew. That look he gave me when he went out said everything he said or hinted last night over again. I wish he was like other men and would talk things out. A body could answer back then and argue him into reason. But what's to be done with a man who just looks? Anne had relapsed into reverie, with her chin in her hands and eyes on the sky, when Marilla returned from her cellar pilgrimage. There Marilla left her until the early dinner was on the table. I suppose I can have the mare and buggy this afternoon, Matthew, said Marilla. Matthew nodded and looked wistfully at Anne. Marilla intercepted the look and said grimly, I'm going to drive over to White Sands and settle this thing. I'll take Anne with me, and Mrs. Spencer will probably make arrangements to send her back to Nova Scotia at once. I'll set your tea out for you, and I'll be home in time to milk the cows. Still, Matthew said nothing, and Marilla had a sense of having wasted words and breath. There's nothing more aggravating than a man who won't talk back, unless it is a woman who won't. Matthew hitched the sorrel into the buggy in due time, and Marilla and Anne set off. Matthew opened the yard gate for them, and as they drove slowly through, he said, to nobody in particular as it seemed, Little Jerry Buot? Little Jerry Buot from the creek was here this morning, and I told him I guessed I'd hire him for the summer. Marilla made no reply, but she hit the unlucky sorrel with such a vicious whip, with a whip that the fat mare, unused to such treatment, whizzed indignantly down the lane at an alarming pace. Marilla looked back once as the buggy bounced along and saw that aggravating Matthew leaning over the gate, looking wistfully after them. That was chapter 4. That event was such a shock that I can't read anymore. I can't read properly. I can't read straight. Oh no. Chapter 5, Anne's History. Do you know, said Anne confidentially, I've made up my mind to enjoy this drive. It's been my experience that you can nearly always enjoy things if you make up your mind firmly that you will. Of course, you must make it up firmly. I am not going to think about going back to the asylum while we're having our drive. I'm just going to think about the drive. Oh, look, there's one little early wild rose out. Isn't it lovely? Don't you think it must be glad to be a rose? Wouldn't it be nice if roses could talk? I'm sure they could tell us such lovely things, and isn't pink the most bewitching colour in the world? I love it, but I can't wear it. Red-headed people can't wear pink, not even in imagination. Did you ever know of anybody whose hair was red when she was young, but got to be another colour when she grew up? No, I don't think as I ever did. I don't know as I ever did, said Marilla mercilessly, and I shouldn't think it likely to happen in your case either. Hair colorist. I love Vadastrix. Anne sighed. Well, that is another hope gone. My life is a perfect graveyard of buried hopes. That's a sentence I read in a book once, and I say it over to comfort myself whenever I'm disappointed in anything. Free audiobook, but with horrible reading. With a lot of stumbling over words, with a lot of mispronunciations, with a lot of distractions. Audiobook podcast. Would that work? What am I up to? I don't see where the comforting comes in myself, said Marilla. Why? Because it sounds so nice and romantic, just as if I were a heroine in a book, you know. I'm so fond of romantic things, and a graveyard full of buried hopes is about as romantic a thing as one can imagine, isn't it? I'm rather glad I have one. Are we going across the Lake of Shining Waters today? Anne definitely deserves better. I feel so bad for her. We're not going over Barry's Pond, if that's what you mean by your Lake of Shining Waters. We're going by the Shore Road. Shore Road sounds nice, said Anne dreamily. Is it as nice as it sounds? Just when you said Shore Road, I saw it in a picture in my mind, as quick as that. And White Sands is a pretty name too. But I don't like it as well as Avonlea. Avonlea is a lovely name. It just sounds like music. How far is it to White Sands? It's 5 miles, and as you're evidently bent on talking, you might as well talk to some purpose by telling me what you know about yourself. Oh, what I know about myself isn't really worth telling, said Anne eagerly. If you'll only let me tell you what I imagine about myself, you'll think it ever so much more interesting. No, I don't want any of your imaginings. Just stick to bold facts. Begin at the beginning. Where were you born and how old are you? I was 11 last March, said Anne, resigning herself to bold facts with a little sigh. And I was born in Bolingbroke, Nova Scotia. My father's name was Walter Shirley, and he was a teacher in the Bolingbroke High School. My mother's name was Bertha Shirley. Aunt Walter and Bertha, lovely names. I'm so glad my parents had nice names. It would be a real disgrace to have a father named, well, say Jedediah, wouldn't it? Oh, for all the Jedediahs out there. F's. F's in chat, not L. F's. Is that how it works? Children, how do I speak the words of your internet folks? I'm not functioning right now. Oh my goodness. Send help. I guess it doesn't matter what a person's name is as long as he behaves himself, said Marilla, feeling herself called upon to inculcate a good and useful moral. W's in chat? W's for the Jedediahs? Well, I don't know. Anne looked thoughtfully. I read in a book once that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but I've never been able to believe it. I don't believe a rose would be as nice if it was called a thistle or skunk cabbage. I suppose my father could have been a good man if he had been called Jedediah, but I'm sure it would have been a cross. Well, my mother was a teacher in the high school too, but when she married father, she gave up teaching, of course. A husband was enough responsibility. Have we ever worked well around here? No, I don't like it. I don't like scuff. Oh. Jedediah. Mrs. Thomas said they were a pair of babies and as poor as church mice. They went to live in a weeny teeny little house in Bolingbroke. I've never seen that house, but I've imagined it thousands of times. I think it must have had honeysuckle over the parlor windows, and lilacs in the front yard, and lilies of the valley just inside the gate. Yes, and muslin curtains in all the windows. Muslin curtains give a house such an air. I was born in that house. Mrs. Thomas said I was the homeliest baby she ever saw. I was so scrawny and tiny and nothing but eyes. But that mother thought I was perfectly beautiful. I should think a mother would be a better judge than a poor woman who came in to scrub, wouldn't you? I'm glad she was satisfied with me anyhow. I would feel so sad if I thought I was a disappointment to her, because she didn't live very long after that, you see. She died of fever when I was just 3 months old. I do wish she lived long enough for me to remember calling her mother. I think it would be so sweet to say mother, don't you? And father died 4 days afterwards from fever too. That left me an orphan, and folks were at their wits' end. So, Mrs. Thomas said, what to do with me? You see, where am I up to? You see, nobody wanted me even then. It seems to be my fate. Father and mother had both come from places far away, and it was well known they hadn't any relatives living. Finally, Mrs. Thomas said she'd take me, though she was poor and had a drunken husband. She brought me up by hand. You know, if there is anything in being brought up by hand that ought to make people who are brought up that way better than other people. Because whenever I was naughty, Mrs. Thomas would ask me how I could be such a bad girl when she had brought me up by hand, reproachful like. And I know Mr. and Mrs. Thomas moved away from Bolingbroke to Marysville, and I lived with them until I was 8 years old. I helped look after the Thomas children. There were 4 of them younger than me, and I can tell you they took a lot of looking after. Then Mr. Thomas was killed falling under a train, and his mother offered to take Mrs. Thomas and the children, but she didn't want me. Mrs. Thomas was at her wits' end, so she said, what to do with me. Then Mrs. Hammond from up the river came down and said she'd take me, seeing I was handy with the children, and I went up the river to live with her in a little clearing among the stumps. It was a very lonesome place. I'm sure I could never have lived there if I hadn't had an imagination. Mr. Hammond worked a little sawmill up there, and Mrs. Hammond had 8 children. 8! Damn! She had twins 3 times. I like babies in moderation, but twins 3 times in succession is too much. I told Mrs. Hammond so firmly when the last pair came. I used to get so dreadfully tired carrying them about. I lived up river with Mrs. Hammond over 2 years, and then Mr. Hammond died, and Mrs. Hammond broke up housekeeping. She divided her children among her relatives and went to the States. I had to go to the asylum at Hopeton because nobody would take me. They didn't want me at the asylum either. They said they were overcrowded as it was, but they had to take me, and I was there 4 months until Mrs. Spencer came. Anne finished up with another sigh, of relief this time. Evidently, she did not like talking about her experiences in a world that did not want her. Did you ever go to school? Demanded Marilla, turning the sorrel mare down the shore road. Not a great deal. I went a little the last year I stayed with Mrs. Thomas. When I went up river, we were so far from a school that I couldn't walk it in winter, and there was vacation in summer, so I could only go in the spring and fall. But of course I went while I was at the asylum. I can read pretty well, and I know ever so many pieces of poetry off by heart. The Battle of Hohenlinden, and Edinburgh after Flodden, and Bingen on the Rhine, and lots of the Lady of the Lake, and most of the Seasons by James Thomson. Don't you just love poetry that gives you a crinkly feeling up and down your back? There's a piece in the 5th Reader, The Downfall of Poland, that is just full of thrills. Of course I wasn't in the 5th Reader, I was only in the 4th, but the big girls used to lend me theirs to read. Were those women, Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Hammond, good to you? Asked Marilla, looking at Anne out of the corner of her eye. Oh, faltered Anne. Her sensitive little face suddenly flushed scarlet, and embarrassment sat on her brow. Oh, they meant to be. I know they meant to be just as good and kind as possible. And when people mean to be good to you, when people mean to be good to you, you don't mind very much when they're not quite. Always. They had a good deal to worry them, you know. It's very trying to have a drunken husband, you see, and it must be very trying to have twins 3 times in succession, don't you think? But I feel sure they meant to be good to me. Marilla asked no more questions. Anne gave herself up to a silent rapture over the shore road, and Marilla guided the sorrel abstractly while she pondered deeply. Pity was suddenly stirring in her heart for the child. What a starved, unloved life she had had. A life of drudgery and poverty and neglect. For Marilla was shrewd enough to read between the lines of Anne's history and divine the truth. No wonder she had been so delighted at the prospect of a real home. It was a pity she had to be sent back. What if she, Marilla, should indulge Matthew's unaccountable whim and let her stay? He was set on it, and the child seemed a nice, teachable little thing. She's got too much to say, thought Marilla, but she might be trained out of it. And there's nothing rude or slangy in what she says. She's ladylike. It's likely her people were nice folks. The shore road was woodsy and wild and lonesome. On the right hand, scrub firs, their spirits quite unbroken by long years of tussle with the Gulf winds, grew thickly. On the left were the steep red sandstone cliffs, so near the track in places that a mare of less steadiness than the sorrel might have tried the nerves of the people behind her. Down at the base of the cliffs were heaps of surf-worn rocks or little sandy coves, inlaid with pebbles as with ocean jewels. Beyond lay the sea, shimmering and blue, and over it soared the gulls, their pinions flashing silvery in the sunlight. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. What? The fact Anne was talking about her sad past so nonchalantly makes me so sad. I think it was what was normal for her, and I think that's why. And I feel like she's so emotionally mature. She grew up too fast. That's the one thing. She definitely grew up too fast. Isn't the sea wonderful? Said Anne, rousing from a long, wide-eyed silence. Once, when I lived in Marysville, Mr. Thomas hired an express wagon and took us all to spend the day at the shore 10 miles away. I enjoyed every moment of that day. Even if I had to look after the children all the time, I lived it over in happy dreams for years. But this shore is nicer than the Marysville shore. Aren't those gulls splendid? Would you like to be a gull? I think I would. That is, if I couldn't be a human gull. Don't you think it would be nice to wake up at sunrise and swoop down over the water and away out over that lovely blue all day, and then at night fly back to one's nest? Oh, I can just imagine myself doing it. What big house is that just ahead? Just ahead, please. That's the White Sands Hotel. Mr. Kirk runs it. But the season hasn't begun yet. There are heaps of Americans come here. There are heaps of Americans come there for the summer. They think this shore is just about right. I was afraid it might be Mrs. Spencer's place, said Anne mournfully. I don't want to get there. Somehow it will seem like the end of everything. And that was chapter 5. Do we want to do 6? Do we want to continue? Or do we want to just chill? I can't decide. I'm going to drink. Hang on. I think the others will want chapter 6. At least I think so. You mean you? Decide. Should I read the next chapter or should we do it next time? Having your toast in bed. Why? 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 Wait, ordering? No. Waiting for beast? No. Extra chapter? Shuffle around the chapters to make it confusing for VOD watchers? No. Ow. Hang on. I'm not getting sick, am I? Why am I so sore? Extra chapter? Should we just keep going? Okay. Okay. Chapter 6. Marilla makes up her mind. Get there. They did. However, in due season. Is that Din Din? Hello, Adrian. Getting invested in in Anne. Hello, Nola Saint. Get there. They did. However, in due season. Mrs. Spencer lived in a big yellow house at White Sands Cove, and she came to the door with surprise and welcome mingled on her benevolent face. Dear, dear, she exclaimed. You're the last folks I was looking for today, but I'm real glad to see you. You'll put your horse in? And how are you, Anne? Well, I'm as well as can be expected, thank you, said Anne smilelessly. A blight seemed to have descended on her. I suppose we'll stay a little while to rest the mare, said Marilla, but I promised Matthew I'll be home early. The fact is, Mrs. Spencer, there's been a queer mistake somewhere, and I've come over to see where it is. We sent word, Matthew and I, for you to bring us a boy from the asylum. We told your brother Robert to tell you we wanted a boy 10 or 11 years old. Marilla Cuthbert, you don't say so, said Mrs. Spencer in distress. Why, Robert sent word down by his daughter Nancy and said she said you wanted a girl, didn't she, Flora Jane, appealing to a daughter who had come out to the steps. She certainly did, Miss Cuthbert, corroborated Flora Jane earnestly. I'm dreadful sorry, said Mrs. Spencer. It's too bad, but it certainly wasn't my fault, you see. It's too bad, but it was. I can't read. It's too bad, but it certainly wasn't my fault, you see, Miss Cuthbert. I did the best I could, and I thought I was following your instructions. Nancy is a terrible, flighty thing. I've often had to scold her well for her heedlessness. It was our own fault, said Marilla resignedly. We should have come to you ourselves, and not left an important message to be passed along by word of mouth in that fashion. Anyhow, the mistake has been made, and the only thing to do now is to set it right. Can we send the child back to the asylum? I suppose they'll take her back, won't they? I suppose so, said Mrs. Spencer thoughtfully, but I don't think it will be necessary to send her back. Mrs. Peter Blewett was up here yesterday, and she was saying to me how much she wished she sent by me for a little girl to help her. Mrs. Peter has a large family, you know, and she finds it hard to get help. Anne will be the very girl for her. I call it positively providential. Marilla did not look as if she thought Providence had much to do with the matter. Here was an unexpected good chance to get this unwelcome orphan off her hands, and she did not even feel grateful for it. She knew Mrs. Peter Blewett only by sight as a small, shrewish-faced woman without an ounce of superfluous flesh on her bones. But she had heard of her, a terrible worker and driver, Mrs. Peter was said to be, and discharged servant girls told fearsome tales of her temper and stinginess, and a family of pert, quarrelsome children. Marilla felt a qualm of conscience at the thought of handing Anne over to her tender mercies. Oh no, Anne! Well, I'll go in and we'll talk the matter over, she said. And if there isn't Mrs. Peters coming up the lane this blessed minute, exclaimed Mrs. Spencer, bustling her guests through the hall into the parlor, where a deadly chill struck on them as if the air had been strained so long through dark green, closely drawn blinds that it had lost every particle of warmth it had ever possessed. That is real lucky, for we can settle the matter right away. Take the armchair, Mrs. Cuthbert, and you sit here on the ottoman and don't wriggle. Let me take your hats. Flora Jane, go out and put the kettle on. Good afternoon, Mrs. Blewett. We were just saying how fortunate it was you happened along. Let me introduce you two ladies. Mrs. Blewett, Miss Cuthbert. Please excuse me for just a moment. I forgot to tell Flora Jane to take the buns out of the oven. Stinginess. Oh, stinginess. Where was that word? Ah, temper and stinginess. Ah. Mrs. Spencer whisked away after pulling up the blinds, and, sitting mutedly on the ottoman, with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, stared at Mrs. Blewett as one fascinated. Was she to be given into the keeping of this sharp-faced, sharp-eyed woman? She felt a lump coming up in her throat, and her eyes smarted painfully. She was beginning to be afraid she couldn't keep the tears back when Mrs. Spencer returned, flushed and beaming, quite capable of taking any and every difficulty, physical, mental, or spiritual, into consideration and settling it out of hand. It seems there's been a mistake about this little girl, Mrs. Blewett, she said. I was under the impression that Mr. and Miss Cuthbert wanted a little girl to adopt. I was certainly told so, but it seems it was a boy they wanted. So if you're still of the same mind you were yesterday, I think she'll be the thing for you. Mrs. Blewett darted her eyes over Anne from head to foot. How old are you, and what's your name? She demanded. Anne Shirley, faltered the shrinking child, not daring to make any stipulations regarding the spelling thereof, and I'm 11 years old. Humph, you don't look as if there was much to you, but you're wiry. I don't know, but the wiry ones are the best after all. Well, if I take you, you'll have to be a good girl, you know. Good and smart and respectful. I'll expect you to earn your keep, and no mistake about it. Yes, I suppose I might as well take her off your hands, Miss Cuthbert. The baby's awful fractious, and I'm clean worn out attending to him. If you like, I can take her right home now. Marilla looked at Anne and softened at sight of the child's pale face with its look of mute misery. The misery of a helpless little creature who finds itself once more caught in the trap from which it had escaped. Marilla felt an uncomfortable conviction that, if she denied the appeal of that look, it would haunt her to her dying day. Moreover, she did not fancy Mrs. Blewett. To hand a sensitive, high-strung child over to such a woman. No, she could not take the responsibility of doing that. Well, I don't know, she said slowly. I didn't say that Matthew and I had absolutely decided that we wouldn't keep her. In fact, I may say that Matthew is disposed to keep her. I just came over to find out how the mistake had occurred. I think I better take her home again and talk it over with Matthew. I feel that I oughtn't to decide on anything without consulting him. If we make up our minds not to keep her, we'll bring her or send her over to you tomorrow night. If we don't, you may know that she is going to stay with us. Will that suit you, Mrs. Blewett? I suppose it will have to do. I suppose it will have to, said Mrs. Blewett ungraciously. During Marilla's speech, a sunrise had been dawning on Anne's face. First, the look of despair faded out. Then came a faint flush of hope. Her eyes grew deep and bright as morning stars. The child was quite transfigured, and a moment later, when Mrs. Spencer and Mrs. Blewett went out in quest of a recipe the latter had come to borrow, she sprang up and flew across the room to Marilla. He's finally gonna get love! Oh, Miss Cuthbert, did you really say that perhaps you would let me stay at Green Gables? She said in a breathless whisper, as if speaking aloud might shatter the glorious possibility. Did you really say it, or did I only imagine that you did? I think you better learn to control that imagination of yours, Anne, if you can't distinguish between what is real and what isn't, said Marilla crossly. Yes, you did hear me say just that, and no more. It isn't decided yet, and perhaps we'll conclude to let Mrs. Blewett take you after all. She certainly needs you much more than I do. I'd rather go back to the asylum than go to live with her, said Anne passionately. She looks exactly like a gimlet. Thanks for following, Genzi. Marilla smothered a smile under the conviction that Anne must be reproved for such a speech. A little girl like you should be ashamed of talking so about a lady and a stranger, she said severely. Go back and sit down quietly and hold your tongue. Behave as a good girl should. I'll try to do and be anything you want me, if you'll only keep me, said Anne, returning meekly to her ottoman. When they arrived back at Green Gables that evening, Matthew met them in the lane. Marilla from afar had noted him prowling along it and guessed his motive. She was prepared for the relief she read in his face when he saw that she had at least brought Anne back with her. But she said nothing to him relative to their fare until they were both out in the yard behind the barn milking the cows. Then she briefly told him Anne's history and the result of the interview with Mrs. Spencer. I wouldn't give a dog I liked to that Blewett woman, said Matthew with unusual vim. I don't fancy her style myself, admitted Marilla, but it's that or keeping her ourselves, Matthew. And since you seem to want her, I suppose I'm willing, or have to be. I've been thinking over the idea until I got kind of used to. It seems a sort of duty. I've never brought up a child, especially a girl, and I dare say I'll make a terrible mess of it. But I'll do my best. So far as I'm concerned, Matthew, she may stay. So far as I'm concerned, Matthew, she may stay. Matthew's shy face was a glow of delight. Well now, I reckon you come to see it in that light, Marilla, he said. She's such an interesting little thing. It'd be more to the point if you could say she was a useful little thing, retorted Marilla. But I'll make it my business to see she's trained to be that. And mind, Matthew, you're not to go interfering with my methods. Perhaps an old maid doesn't know much about bringing up a child, but I guess she knows more than an old bachelor. So you just leave me to manage her. When I fail, it'll be time enough to put the oar. When I fail, it'll be time enough to put your oar in. Hello, Lumiere. Being an orphan really sucks. You get passed around like hot potatoes and most see you as a burden. That is, I feel like it's usually the case with older orphans. There, Marilla. You can have your own way, said Matthew reassuringly. Only be as good and kind to her as you can without spoiling her. I kind of think she's one of the sort you can do anything with if you only get her to love you. Marilla sniffed to express her contempt for Matthew's opinions concerning anything feminine and walked off to the dairy with the pails. I won't tell her tonight that she can stay, she reflected as she strained the milk into the creamers. She'd be so excited that she wouldn't sleep a wink. Marilla Cuthbert, you're fairly in for it. Did you ever suppose you'd see the day when you be adopting an orphan girl? It's surprising enough, but not so surprising as that Matthew should be at the bottom of it. Him that always seemed to have such a mortal dread of little girls. Anyhow, we've decided on the experiment, and goodness only knows what will come of it. That was chapter 6. But yeah, I feel like being an orphan, especially older orphans, it will be really hard because I feel like with the younger ones, people are more willing to adopt them because they can raise them to their liking, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm right or not though. We won! We won in chapter 6. Chapter 7? We'll just keep going. We'll just keep going until I want to stop. There's 30-something chapters. We just finished chapter 6, but each chapter is quite short. It's not that long. Yeah, until I'm destroyed. Also, I have a sore arm. My shoulder hurts. So, up to 10. Let's go up to 10. Okay, chapter 7. Anne says her prayers. When Marilla took Anne up to bed that night, she said stiffly, May is almost over. Ugh. Now, Anne, I noticed last night that you threw your clothes all about the floor when you took them off. That is a very untidy habit, and I can't allow it at all. As soon as you take off any article of clothing, fold it neatly and place it on the chair. I haven't any use at all for little girls who aren't neat. Huh? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Who's warming up? It's getting cooler. Why are you laughing? You have a question? What's your question? Is everyone born? No, I'm born in August. Why are you laughing? How quickly you convince yourself to read chapter 7? Oh, then what? Alright. I was so harrowed up in my mind last night that I didn't think about my clothes at all, said Anne. I'll fold them nicely tonight. They always made us do that at the asylum. Half the time, though, I forget. I've been in such a hurry to get into bed nice and quiet and imagine things. Bunch of people born in May. Ah, I'm born in August. Is it just you? I say it's planned. I don't know what I'm up to. I'm a Feb person. What happened in August? My birthday. I was so hurried up in my mind last night that I didn't think about my clothes at all, said Anne. I'll fold them nicely tonight. They always made us do that at the asylum. Half the time, though, I forget. I've been in such a hurry to get into bed nice and quiet and imagine things. Why a lot of people make babies in August? November makes sense, does it? Valentine? I don't know. You have to remember a little better if you stay here, admonished Marilla. There, that looks something like. Say your prayers now and get into bed. I never say any prayers, announced Anne. Marilla looked horrified and Marilla looked horrified, astonishment. Why, Anne? What do you mean? Were you never taught to say your prayers? God always wants little girls to say their prayers. Don't you know who God is, Anne? God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable. In his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth, responded Anne promptly and glibly. Marilla looked rather relieved. You do know something then, thank goodness. You're not quite a heathen. Where did you learn that? Oh, at the asylum Sunday school. They made us learn the whole catechism. I liked it pretty well. There's something splendid about some of the words, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable. Isn't that grand? It has such a roll to it, just like a big organ playing. You couldn't call it poetry, I suppose, but it sounds a lot like it, doesn't it? We're not talking about poetry, Anne. We're talking about saying your prayers. Don't you know it's a terrible, wicked thing to not say your prayers every night? I'm afraid you are a very bad little girl. You'll find it easier to be bad than good if you had red hair, said Anne reproachfully. People who haven't red hair don't know what trouble is. Mrs. Thomas told me that God made my hair red on purpose, and I never cared about him since. And anyhow, I'd always be too tired at night to bother saying prayers. People who have to look after twins can't be expected to say their prayers. Now, do you honestly think they can? Stare at the floor awkwardly, being a Catholic that rarely prays. Marilla decided that Anne's religious training must be begun at once. Plainly, there was no time to be lost. You must say your prayers while you are under my roof, Anne. Why, of course, if you want me to, assented Anne cheerfully. I'd do anything to oblige you, but you'll have to tell me what to say for this once. After I get into bed, I'll imagine out a real nice prayer to say always. I believe that it will be quite interesting now that I come to think of it. You must kneel down, said Marilla in embarrassment. Anne knelt at Marilla's knee and looked up gravely. Why must people kneel down to pray? If I really wanted to pray, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd go out into great big field, all alone, or into the deep, deep woods, and I'd look up into the sky, up, into that lovely blue sky that looks as if there was no end to its blueness, and then I just feel a prayer. When I'm ready, what am I to say? Marilla felt more embarrassed than ever. She had intended to teach Anne the childish classic. Now, lay me down to sleep. But she had, as I have told you, the glimmerings of a sense of humor, which is simply another name for a sense of the fitness of things. And it suddenly occurred to her that that simple little prayer, sacred to white-robed childhood, lisping at motherly knees, was entirely unsuited to this freckled witch of a girl. Witch! Who knew and cared nothing about God's love, since she had never had it translated to her through the medium of human love. You're old enough to pray for yourself, Anne, she said finally. Just thank God for your blessings, and ask him humbly for the things you want. Well, I'll do my best, promised Anne, burying her face in Marilla's lap. You guys ready? Gracious Heavenly Father, That's the way the ministers say it in church, so I suppose it's all right in private prayer, isn't it? She interjected, lifting her head for a moment. Gracious Heavenly Father, I thank Thee for the white way of delight and the lake of shining waters and Bonnie and the Snow Queen. I'm really extremely grateful for them, and that's all the blessings I can think of just now to thank Thee for. As for the things I want, they're so numerous that it will take a great deal of time to name them all, so I will only mention the two most important. Please let me stay at Green Gables, and please let me be good looking when I grow up. I remain yours respectfully, Anne Shirley. He just wants to be good looking. He just wants to be good looking. I'm gonna sleep. Go sleep. Yes, it's a Santa wish list. Thank you for the white way of delight and the lake of shining waters and Bonnie. She's so mean. There, did I do it all right? She asked eagerly, getting up. I could have made it much more flowery if I had a little more time to think it over. Poor Marilla was only preserved from complete collapse by remembering that it was not irreverence, but simply spiritual ignorance on the part of Anne that was responsible for this extraordinary petition. She tucked the child up in bed, mentally vowing that she should be taught a prayer the very next day, and was leaving the room with the light when Anne called her back. Valentine's Day is a lie. No one gives it anything that day. Can't be real. I've just thought of it now. I should have had said amen in place of yours respectfully, shouldn't I? The way ministers do. I've forgotten it, but I felt a prayer should be finished off in some way, so I put in the other. Do you suppose it'll make any difference? I don't suppose it will, said Marilla. Go to sleep now, like a good child. Good night. I can say good night tonight with a clear conscience, said Anne, cuddling luxuriously down among her pillows. Marilla retreated to the kitchen, set the candle firmly on the table, and glared at Matthew. Matthew Cuthbert, it's about time somebody adopted that child and taught her something. She's next door to a perfect heathen. Will you believe that she never said a prayer in her life until tonight? I'll send to the manse tomorrow and borrow the Peep of the Day series. That's what I'll do. And she shall go to Sunday school just as soon as I can get some suitable clothes made for her. I'll foresee that I shall have my hands full. Well, we can't get through this world without our share of trouble. I have had a pretty easy life of it so far, but my time has come at last, and I suppose I'll just have to make the best of it. I should turn on the light so when I wake up from a bath, it wouldn't be pitch dark. Gonna sleep in your bath? No, it's because Valentine's Day usually in Asian culture, or some Asian culture, it's the women that receive things. But there's also White Day, which is the reverse, where the women give the men something. Too hot to sleep on my bed, bro. Be careful. Be careful. Boys on Valentine's Day and girls on White Day? No. Girls get something on Valentine's Day and boys get stuff on White Day. Not to flex, but I got multiple gifts during Valentine. Wow. Wow, I never got anything. I never got anything. But I don't think they do that here. Because it's a very Western. I think that concept is an Asian concept from women and some men, which I find weird. I mean, you never know. You never know. Only pretty girls get something on Valentine's Day. I feel like in school, Valentine's Day, people give like flowers. Like we can order flowers and give it to people. But usually people just give it to their friends and all that. You're not gay, but they may be. They could be. Or they could be pansexual. Or they could be bisexual, you know? You're not gay, but it doesn't change the fact that they like you. Omnisexual. I made a bunch of homemade brownies to gift all my classmates and teachers. Oh. Gay horse. Oh, that was chapter 7. I barely lift a finger on Valentine's Day. Ah. See you next time. Army, no. Then I go out and nothing ever amounts to it. What do you... Does giving flowers to my mum count? I only given Valentine's gifts to my mum. I don't know, is that weird? No? No, it's not weird. It's not weird. I think Valentine's Day isn't a big thing as a student here in Australia. It's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. Actually, I don't think we have school during Valentine's Day. Well, I mean, in Australia, schools have a lot of holidays. I don't remember ever being at school on Valentine's Day, though. I had exams on my birthday. Buying slipper at March 10. I had a rain day was a holiday. What? Is Valentine's Day a holiday? I wouldn't call it a holiday, is it? Is it a holiday? Nah. 3-year period when I was always sick on my birthday. Yeah, it's not a holiday. It's just a day of love. We wish. Always an excuse to take a day off. Makes kissy face. Ew, I hate that sound. Okay, chapter 8. Anne's upbringing up is begun. That was wet. For reasons best known to herself, Marilla did not tell Anne that she was to stay at Green Gables until the next afternoon. Not a holy day. During the forenoon, she kept the child busy with various tasks and watched over her with a keen eye while she did them. By noon, she had concluded that Anne was smart and obedient, willing to work, and quick to learn. Her most serious shortcomings seemed to be a tendency to fall into daydreams in the middle of a task and forget all about it until some time as she was sharply recalled to earth by a reprimand or a catastrophe. When Anne had finished washing the dinner dishes, she suddenly confronted Marilla with the air and expression of one desperately determined to learn the worst. Her thin little body trembled from head to foot, her face flushed, and her eyes dilated until they was almost black. She clasped her hands tightly and said in an imploring voice, "Oh, please, Miss Cuthbert, won't you tell me if you are going to send me away or not? I've tried to be patient all the morning, but I really feel that I cannot bear not knowing any longer. It's a dreadful feeling. Please tell me." "You haven't scalded the dishcloth in clean hot water as I told you to do," said Marilla immovably. "Just go and do it before you ask any more questions, Anne." Anne went and attended to the dishcloth. Then she returned to Marilla and fastened imploring eyes of the latter's face. "Well," said Marilla, unable to find any excuse for deferring her explanation longer, "I suppose I might as well tell you. Matthew and I have decided to keep you, that is, if you will try to be a good little girl and show yourself grateful." "Why, child, whatever is the matter?" "I'm crying," said Anne in a tone of bewilderment. "I can't think why. I'm glad as glad can be. Oh, glad doesn't seem the right word at all. I was glad about the white way and the cherry blossoms. But this, oh, it's something more than glad. I'm so happy. I'll try to be so good. It will be uphill work, I expect, for Mrs. Thomas often told me I was desperately wicked. However, I'll do my very best. But can you tell me why I'm crying?" "I suppose it's because you're all excited and worked up," said Marilla disapprovingly. "Sit down on that chair and try to calm yourself. I'm afraid you cry. I'm afraid you both cry and laugh far too easily. Yes, you can stay here, and we will try to do right by you. You must go to school, but it's only a fortnight till vacation, so isn't worthwhile for you to start before it opens again in September." "What am I to call you?" asked Anne. Shall I always say Miss Cuthbert? Can I call you Aunt Marilla?" "No, you'll call me just plain Marilla. I'm not used to being called Miss Cuthbert, and it would make me nervous." "It sounds awfully disrespectful to just say Marilla," protested Anne. "I guess there'll be nothing disrespectful in it if you're careful to speak respectfully. Everybody, young and old, in Avonlea calls me Marilla except the minister. He says Miss Cuthbert when he thinks of it." "I'd love to call you Aunt Marilla," said Anne wistfully. "I've never had an aunt or any relations at all, not even a grandmother. It would make me feel as if I really belonged to you. Can't I call you Aunt Marilla?" "No, I'm not your aunt, and I don't believe in calling people names that don't belong to them." "But we could imagine you were my aunt." "I couldn't," said Marilla grimly. "Do you ever imagine things different from what they really are?" asked Anne wide-eyed. "No." "Oh," Anne drew a long breath. "Oh, Miss Marilla, how much you miss." "I don't believe in imagining things different from what they really are," retorted Marilla. "When the Lord puts us in certain circumstances, he doesn't mean for us to imagine them away. And that reminds me, go into the sitting room, Anne. Be sure your feet are clean and don't let any flies in. And bring me out the illustrated card that's on the mantelpiece. The Lord's Prayer is on it, and you'll devote your spare time this afternoon to learning it off by heart. There's to be no more of such praying as I heard last night." Marilla's becoming soft. She is. "Don't let any flies in." Man, that's impossible. "I suppose I was very awkward," said Anne apologetically. "But then, you see, I'd never had any practice. You couldn't really expect a person to pray very well the first time she tried, could you?" I thought out a splendid prayer after I went to bed, just as I promised you I would. It was nearly as long as a minister's and so poetic. But would you believe it? I couldn't remember one word when I woke up this morning, and I'm afraid I will never be able to think out another one as good. Somehow, things never are so good when they're thought out a second time. Have you noticed that? What? Here's something for you to notice, Anne. When I tell you to do a thing, I want you to obey me at once and not stand stock still and discourse about it. Just you go and do as I bid you. Anne promptly departed for the sitting room across the hall. She failed to return. After waiting 10 minutes, Marilla laid down her knitting, marched after her with a grim expression. She found Anne standing motionless before a picture hanging on the wall between the two windows, with her eyes astar with dreams. The white and green light strained through apple trees, and clustering vines outside fell over the wrapped little figure with a half unearthly radiance. Anne, whatever are you thinking of? Demanded Marilla sharply. Anne came back to earth with a start. That, she said, pointing to the picture, a rather vivid chroma entitled Christ Blessing Little Children. And I was just imagining I was one of them, that I was the little girl in the blue dress, standing off by herself in the corner as if she didn't belong to anybody like me. She looks lonely and sad, don't you think? I guess she hadn't any father or mother of her own, but she wanted to be blessed too, so she just crept shyly up on the outside of the crowd, hoping nobody would notice her except him. I'm sure I know just how she felt. Her heart must have beat, and her hands must have got cold like mine did when I asked you if I could stay. She was afraid he mightn't notice her, but it's likely he did. Don't you think? I've been trying to imagine it all out, her edging a little nearer all the time until she was quite close to him. And then he would look at her and put his hand on her hair, and oh, such a thrill of joy as would run over her. But I wish the artist hadn't painted him so sorrowful looking. All his pictures are like that, if you've noticed. But I don't believe he could really have looked so sad, or the children would have been afraid of him. Oh, it's raining. Anne, said Marilla, wondering why she had not broken into this speech long before. You shouldn't talk that way. It's irreverent, positively irreverent. Anne's eyes marveled. Why, I felt just as reverent as could be. I'm sure I didn't mean to be irreverent. It's raining here, where I am. Well, I don't suppose you did, but it doesn't sound right to talk so familiarly about such things. Just dark clouds and strong wind. Oh, it's raining. Yeah. Umbrella monitor. I'm fine. Where am I up to? Well, I don't suppose you did, but it doesn't sound right to talk so familiarly about such things. And another thing, Anne, when I send you after something, you're to bring it at once and not fall into mooning and imagining before pictures. Remember that. Take that card and come right to the kitchen. Now sit down in the corner and learn that prayer off by heart. Anne set up the card up against a jugful of apple blossoms she had brought in to decorate the dinner table. Marilla had eyed that decoration askance and had said nothing, propped her chin on her hands and fell into studying it intently for several silent minutes. I like this, she announced at length. It's beautiful. I've heard it before. I heard the superintendent of the asylum Sunday school say it over once. But I didn't like it then. He had such a cracked voice, and he prayed it so mournfully. I really felt sure he thought praying was a disagreeable duty. This isn't poetry. but it makes me feel just the same way poetry does. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That is just like a line of music. Oh, I'm so glad you thought of making me learn this, Miss Marilla. Well, learn it and hold your tongue, said Marilla shortly. Anne tipped the vase of apple blossoms near enough to bestow a soft kiss on a pink cup bud, and then studied diligently for some moments longer. Marilla, she demanded presently, do you think that I shall ever have a bosom friend in Avonlea? What kind of friend? A bosom friend. Is it bosom? Bosom. A bosom friend. An intimate friend, you know. A really kindred spirit to whom I can confide my inmost soul. I've dreamed of meeting her all my life. I never really supposed I would, but so many of my loveliest dreams have come true all at once that perhaps this one will too. Do you think it's possible? Yes, intimate friend, like best friend. Yeah. Diana Barry lives over at Orchard Slope, and she's about your age. She's a very nice little girl, and perhaps she will be a playmate for you when she comes home. She's visiting her aunt over at Carmody just now. You have to be careful how you behave yourself, though. Mrs. Barry is a very particular woman. She won't let Diana play with any little girl who isn't nice and good. Anne looked at Marilla through the apple blossoms, her eyes aglow with interest. What is Diana like? Her hair isn't red, is it? Oh, I hope not. It's bad enough to have red hair myself, but I positively couldn't endure it in a bosom friend. Bosom! Diana is a very pretty little girl. She has black eyes and hair and rosy cheeks. She is good and smart, which is better than being pretty. Marilla was as fond of morals as the Duchess in Wonderland, and was firmly convinced that one should be tacked on to every remark made to a child who was being brought up. But Anne waved the moral inconsequently aside and seized only on the delightful possibilities before it. Bosom! Oh, I'm so glad she's pretty. Next to being beautiful oneself, and that's impossible in my case. It would be best to have a beautiful bosom friend. Hello, Oishi. When I lived with Mrs. Thomas, she had a bookcase in her sitting room with glass doors. There weren't any books in it. Mrs. Thomas kept her best china and her preserves there, when she had any preserves to keep. One of the doors was broken. Mr. Thomas had smashed it one night when he was slightly intoxicated. But the other was whole, and I used to pretend that my reflection in it was another girl who lived in it. I called her Katie Maurice, and we were very intimate. I used to talk to her by the hour, especially on Sunday, and tell her everything. Katie was a comfort and consolation of my life. We used to pretend that the bookcase was enchanted, and that if I only knew the spell, I could open the door and step right into the room where Katie Maurice lived, instead of into Mrs. Thomas's shelves of preserves and china. And then Katie Maurice would have taken me by the hand and led me out into a wonderful place, all flowers and sunshine and fairies. And we would have lived there happily forever after. When I went to live with Mrs. Hammond, it just broke my heart to leave Katie Maurice. She felt it dreadfully too. I know she did, for she was crying when she kissed me goodbye through the bookcase door. There was no bookcase at Mrs. Hammond's. Just up the river, a little way from the house, there was a long green little valley, and the loveliest echo lived there. It echoed back every word you said, even if you didn't talk a bit loud. So I imagined that it was a little girl called Violetta. And we were great friends, and I loved her almost as well as I loved Katie Maurice. Not quite, but almost, you know. The night before I went to the asylum, I said goodbye to Violetta. And oh, her goodbye came back to me in such sad, sad tones. I had become so attached to her that I hadn't the heart to imagine a bosom friend at the asylum, even if there had been any scope for imagination there. Some people may not be able to argue with that. Bosom is best. Katie, Maurice, and Violetta. I know. The true besties, yes. I think it's just as well there wasn't, said Marilla dryly. I don't approve of such goings on. You seem to half believe your own imaginations. It will be well for you to have a real live friend to put such nonsense out of your head. But don't let Mrs. Barry hear you talking about your Katie Maurices and your Violettas, or she'll think you tell stories. The true bosoms. Oh, I won't. I couldn't talk of them to everybody. Their memories are too sacred for that. But I thought I'd like to have you know about them. Oh, look, there's a big bee. There's a big bee just tumbled out of an apple blossom. Just think what a lovely place to live. In an apple blossom. Fancy going to sleep in it when the wind was rocking it. If I wasn't a human girl, I think I'd like to be a bee and live among the flowers. Yesterday you wanted to be a seagull, sniffed Marilla. I think you're very fickle-minded. I told you to learn that prayer and not talk, but it seems impossible for you to stop talking if you've got anybody that will listen to you. So go up to your room and learn it. Oh, I know pretty nearly all now, all but just the last line. Well, never mind. Do as I tell you. Go to your room and finish learning it well, and stay there until I call you down to help me get tea. Can I take the apple blossoms with me for company? Pleaded Anne. No, you don't want your room cluttered up with flowers. You should have left them on the tree in the first place. I did feel a little that way too, said Anne. I kind of felt I shouldn't shorten their lovely lives by picking them. I wouldn't want to be picked if I were an apple blossom. But the temptation was irresistible. What do you do when you meet with irresistible temptation? Higgs boson. Anne, did you hear me tell you to go to your room? Anne sighed, retreated into the east gable, and sat down in a chair by the window. There, I know this prayer. I learned that last sentence coming upstairs. Now I'm going to imagine things into this room so that they'll always stay imagined. The floor is covered with a white velvet carpet with pink roses all over it, and there are pink silk curtains at the windows. The walls are hung with gold and silver brocade tapestry. The furniture is mahogany. I never saw any mahogany, but it does sound so luxurious. This is couch all heaped in gorgeous silken cushions, pink and blue and crimson and gold, and I am reclining gracefully on it. I can see my reflection in that splendid big mirror hanging on the wall. I am tall and regal, clad in a gown of trailing white lace, with a pearl cross on my breast and pearls in my hair. My hair is of midnight darkness, and my skin is a clear ivory pallor. My name is the Lady Cordelia Fitzgerald. No, it isn't. I can't make that seem real. She danced up the little looking glass and peered into it. Her pointed freckled face and solemn grey eyes peered back at her. You're only Anne of Green Gables, she said earnestly, and I see you just as you are looking now, whenever I try to imagine I'm the Lady Cordelia. But it's a million times nicer to be Anne of Green Gables than Anne of nowhere in particular, isn't it? She bent forward and kissed her reflection affectionately and betook herself to the open window. Dear Snow Queen, good afternoon, and good afternoon, dear birches down in the hollow, and good afternoon, dear grey house up on the hill. I wonder if Diana is to be my bosom friend. I hope she will, and I shall love her very much. But I must never quite forget Katie, Maurice, and Violetta. They would feel so hurt if I did, and I hate to hurt anybody's feelings, even a little bookcase girls or little echo girls. I must be careful to remember them and send them a kiss every day. Anne blew a couple of airy kisses from her fingertips past the cherry blossoms and then, with her chin in her hands, drifted luxuriously out on a sea of daydreams. She is so unserious. It's so funny. I do feel bad for her. It was long because it was descriptive and not much happened. Not much happened, that's why it felt long. Chapter 9. Mrs. Rachel Lynde is properly horrified. Anne had been a fortnight at Green Gables before Mrs. Lynde arrived to inspect her. Mrs. Rachel, to do her justice, was not to blame for this. A severe and unseasonal attack of grippe had confined that good lady to her house ever since the occasion of her last visit to Green Gables. Mrs. Rachel was not often sick and had a well-defined contempt for people who were, but grippe, she asserted, was like no other illness on earth and could only be interpreted as one of the special visitations of Providence. As soon as the doctor allowed her to put her foot out of doors, she hurried up to Green Gables, bursting with curiosity to see Matthew and Marilla's orphan, concerning whom all sorts of stories and suppositions had gone abroad in Avonlea. Anne had made good use of every waking moment of that fortnight. Already she was acquainted with every tree and shrub about the place. She had discovered that a lane opened out below the apple orchard and ran up through a belt of woodland, and she had explored it to its furthest end in all its delicious vulgarities of brook and bridge, fir coppice and wild cherry arch, corners thick with fern and branching byways of maple and mountain ash. She had made friends with the spring down in the hollow, that wonderful, deep, clear, icy cold spring. It was set about with smooth red sandstones and rimmed in by great palm-like clumps of water fern, and beyond it was a log bridge over the brook. That bridge led Anne's dancing feet up over a wooded hill beyond, where perpetual twilight reigned under the straight, thick-growing firs and spruces. The only flowers there were myriads of delicate June bells, the shyest and sweetest of woodland blooms, and a few pale, aerial starflowers, like the spirits of last year's blossoms. Gossamers glimmered like threads of silver among the trees, and the fir bows and tassels seemed to utter friendly speech. All these raptured voyages of exploration were made in the odd half hours which she was allowed for play, and Anne talked Matthew and Marilla half deaf over her discoveries. Not that Matthew complained, to be sure. He listened to all with a wordless smile of enjoyment on his face. Marilla permitted the chatter until she found herself becoming too interested in it, whereupon she always promptly quenched Anne by a curt command to hold her tongue. Anne was out on the orchard when Mrs. Rachel came, wandering at her own sweet will through the lush, tremulous grasses flashed with ruddy evening sunshine, so that good lady had an excellent chance to talk her illness fully over, describing every ache and pulse beat with such evident enjoyment that Marilla thought even grippe must bring its compensations. When details were exhausted, Mrs. Rachel introduced the real reason for her call. Yeah, Marilla's one of us. I've been hearing some surprising things about you and Matthew. I don't suppose you are any more surprised than I am myself, said Marilla. I'm getting over my surprises now. It was too bad there was such a mistake, said Mrs. Rachel sympathetically. Couldn't you have sent her back? I suppose we could, but we decided not to. Matthew took a fancy to her, and I must say I like her myself, although I admit she has her faults. The house seems a different place already. She's a real bright little thing. Marilla said more than she had intended to say when she began, for she read disapproval in Mrs. Rachel's expression. Oh, I remember this chapter. Oh, okay. It's a great responsibility you've taken on yourself, said the lady gloomily, especially when you've never had any experience with children. You don't know much about her or her real disposition, I suppose, and there's no guessing how a child like that will turn out. But I don't want to discourage you, I'm sure, Marilla. I'm not feeling discouraged, was Marilla's dry response. When I make up my mind to do a thing, it stays made up. I suppose you'd like to see her, Anne. I'll call her in. Anne came running in presently, her face sparkling with the delight of her orchard rovings, but abashed at finding the delight herself in the unexpected presence of a stranger. She halted confused inside the door. She certainly was an odd-looking little creature, in the short, tight, wincey dress she had worn from the asylum, below which her thin legs seemed ungracefully long. Her freckles were more numerous and obtrusive than ever. The wind had ruffled her hatless hair into over-brilliant disorder. It had never looked redder than at that moment. Well, they didn't pick you for your looks, that's sure and certain, was Mrs. Rachel Lynde's emphatic comment. Mrs. Rachel was one of those delightful and popular people who pride themselves on speaking their mind without fear or favour. She's terrible skinny and homely, Marilla. Come here, child, and let me have a look at you. Lawful heart, did anyone ever see such freckles, and hair as red as carrots? Come here, child, I say. Anne came there, but not exactly as Mrs. Rachel expected. Yes, hydrate, thank you. With one bound, she crossed the kitchen floor and stood before Mrs. Rachel, her face scarlet with anger, her lips quivering, and her whole slender form trembling from head to foot. I hate you, she cried in a choked voice, stamping her foot on the floor. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. A louder stamp with each assertion of hatred. How dare you call me skinny and ugly? How dare you say I'm freckled and red-headed? You are a rude, impolite, unfeeling woman. Anne! Exclaimed Marilla in consternation. But Anne continued to face Mrs. Rachel undauntedly, head up, eyes blazing, hands clenched, passionate indignation exhaling from her like an atmosphere. How dare you say such things about me, she repeated vehemently. How would you like to have such things said about you? How would you like to be told that you're fat and clumsy and probably hadn't a spark of imagination in you? I don't care if I do hurt your feelings by saying so. I hope I hurt them. You have hurt mine worse than they were hurt before, even by Mrs. Thomas's intoxicated husband, and I'll never forgive you for it. Never, never, stamp, stamp. Anybody ever see such a temper? Exclaimed the horrified Mrs. Rachel. And go to your room and stay there until I come up, said Marilla, recovering her powers of speech with difficulty. No, the thing is, this Mrs. Rachel, she prided herself in saying what she thought. Wait, where? She prided herself in saying what she thought without fear or favor. So if someone were to say it back to her, she's shocked. She's shocked. Like, what is this? Anne, bursting into tears, rushed to the hall door, slammed it until the tins on the porch wall outside rattled in sympathy, and fled through the hall and up the stairs like a whirlwind. A subdued slam above told that the door of the east gable had been shut with equal vehemence. Glass cannon build? What? Well, I don't envy you your job bringing that up, Marilla, said Mrs. Rachel with unspeakable solemnity. Marilla opened her lips to say she knew not of what apology or deprecation. What she did say was a surprise to herself then and ever afterwards. You shouldn't have twitted her about her looks, Rachel. Marilla Cuthbert, you don't mean to say that you are upholding her in such a terrible display of temper as we've just seen, demanded Mrs. Rachel indignantly. No, said Marilla slowly. I'm not trying to excuse her. She's been very naughty, and I'll have to give her a talking to about it. But we must make allowances for her. She's never been taught what is right, and you were too hard on her, Rachel. Automod? Fingers in. It was fingers in that got flagged. Don't ask me. I have a really strict auto mod. Marilla could not help tacking on that last sentence. Although she was again surprised at herself for doing it, Mrs. Rachel got up with an air of offended dignity. Well, I see that I'll have to be very careful what I say after this, Marilla, since the fine feelings of orphans, brought from goodness knows where, have to be considered before anything else. Oh, no, I'm not vexed. Don't worry yourself. I'm too sorry for you to leave any room for anger in my mind. You have your own trouble with that child. But if you'll take my advice, which I suppose you won't do, although I've brought up 10 children and buried 2, you'll do that talking to you mentioned with a fair-sized birch switch. I shall think that would be the most effective language for that kind of child. A temper matches a hair, I guess. Well, good evening, Marilla. I hope you'll come down to see me often as usual, but you can't expect me to visit here again in a hurry. If I am liable to be flown out and insulted in such a fashion, it's something new in my experience. Finger jokes. Elden Ring finger jokes? My parents would have congratulated me. My parents would not have congratulated me. Whereat Mrs. Rachel swept out and away. If a fat woman who always waddled could be said to sweep away. Finger maidens, oh! And Marilla, with a very solemn face, betook herself to the east gable. On the way upstairs, she pondered uneasily as to what she ought to do. She felt no little dismay over the scene that had just been enacted. How unfortunate that Anne should have displayed such temper before Mrs. Rachel Lynde, of all people. Then Marilla suddenly became aware of an uncomfortable and rebuking consciousness that she felt more humiliation over this than sorrow over the discovery of such a serious defect in Anne's disposition. And how was she to punish her? The amiable suggestion of the birch switch, to the efficiency of which all of Mrs. Rachel's own children could have borne smarting testimony, did not appeal to Marilla. She did not believe she could whip a child. No, some other method of punishment must be found to bring Anne to a proper realization of the enormity of her offense. Marilla found Anne face downward on her bed, crying bitterly, quite oblivious of muddy shoes on a clean counterpane. And I'm finding you, Anne, she said not ungently. No answer. Anne, with greater severity, get off that bed this minute and listen to what I have to say to you. Anne is casting charms to her left and right? Yup. Anne squirmed off the bed and sat rigidly on a chair beside it, her face swollen and tear-stained and her eyes fixed stubbornly on the floor. This is a nice way for you to behave. Anne, aren't you ashamed of yourself? She hadn't any right to call me ugly and red-headed, retorted Anne, evasive and defiant. You hadn't any right to fly into such a fury and talk the way you did to her, Anne. Talk the way you did to her, Anne. I was ashamed of you, thoroughly ashamed of you. I wanted you to behave nicely to Mrs. Lynde, and instead of that, you have disgraced me. I'm sure I don't know why you should lose your temper like that just because Mrs. Lynde said you were red-haired and homely. You say it yourself often enough. Oh, but there's such a difference between saying a thing yourself and hearing other people say it. That is true, wailed Anne. You may know a thing is so, but you can't help hoping other people don't quite think it is. I suppose you think I have an awful temper, but I couldn't help it. When she said those things, something just rose up in me and choked me. I had to fly out at her. Well, you made a fine exhibition of yourself, I must say. Mrs. Lynde will have a nice story to tell about you everywhere, and she'll tell it too. It was a dreadful thing for you to lose your temper like that, Anne. Just imagine how you would feel if somebody told you to your face that you were skinny and ugly, pleaded Anne tearfully. An old remembrance suddenly rose up before Marilla. She had been a very small child when she had heard one aunt say of her to another, "What a pity she is such a dark, homely little thing." Marilla was every day of 50 before the sting had gone out of that memory. I don't say that I think Mrs. Lynde was exactly right in saying what she did to you, Anne, she admitted in a softer tone. Rachel is too outspoken, but that is no excuse for such a behavior on your part. She was a stranger and an elderly person and my visitor. All three very good reasons why you should have been respectful to her. You were rude and saucy, and Marilla had a saving inspiration of punishment. You must go to her and tell her you are very sorry for your bad temper and ask her to forgive you. I can never do that, said Anne determinedly and darkly. You can punish me in any way you like, Marilla. You can shut me up in a dark, damp dungeon inhabited by snakes and toads and feed me only on bread and water, and I shall not complain. But I cannot ask Mrs. Lynde to forgive me. We are not in the habit of shutting people up in dark, damp dungeons, said Marilla dryly, especially as they are rather scarce in Avonlea. But apologize to Mrs. Lynde you must, and shall, and you'll stay here in your room until you can tell me you're willing to do. I shall have to stay here forever then, said Anne mournfully, because I can't tell Mrs. Lynde I'm sorry I said those things to her. How can I? I'm not sorry. I'm sorry I vexed you, but I'm glad I told her just what I did. It was a great satisfaction. I can't say I'm sorry when I'm not, can I? I can't even imagine I'm sorry. Perhaps your imagination will be in better working order by the morning, said Marilla, rising to depart. You have the night to think over your conduct in and come. You have the night to think over your conduct in and come to a better frame of mind. You said you would try to be a very good girl if we kept you at Green Gables, but I must say it hasn't seemed very much like it this evening. Leaving this Parthian shaft to rankle in Anne's stormy bosom, Marilla descended to the kitchen, grievously troubled in mind and vexed in soul. She was as angry with herself as with Anne, because whenever she recalled Mrs. Rachel's dumbfounded countenance, her lips twitched with amusement, and she felt a most reprehensible desire to laugh. Hydrate out of stock? No? I'll hydrate though. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it's a cooldown. I have a cooldown because someone tried to spam it. That was chapter 9. Yeah, don't spam it. Otherwise, it takes the fun away from it. 21 chapters ago? No. The streamer had to drink a liter. Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. Okay, chapter 10. Chapter 10 will be the last chapter for today. We'll do the rest next week. Chapter 10. Anne's apology. Marilla said nothing to Matthew about the affair that evening. No. No. But when Anne proved still refractory the next morning, an explanation had to be made to account for her absence from the breakfast table. Marilla told Matthew the whole story, taking pains to impress him with a due sense of the enormity of Anne's behavior. It's not that late, it's 9:40. It's okay. It's a good thing Rachel Lynde got a calling down. She is a meddlesome old gossip, was Matthew's consolatory rejoinder. Matthew Cuthbert, I'm astonished at you. You know that Anne's behavior was dreadful, and yet you take her part. I suppose you'll be saying next that she oughtn't to be punished at all. No. Well, now, no, not exactly, said Matthew uneasily. I reckon she ought to be punished a little, but don't be too hard on her, Marilla. Recollect, she hasn't ever had anyone to teach her right. You're going to give her something to eat, aren't you? When did you ever hear of me starving people into good behavior? Demanded Marilla indignantly. She will have her meals regular, and I'll carry them up to her myself. But she'll stay up there until she's willing to apologize to Mrs. Lynde, and that's final, Matthew. Breakfast, dinner, and supper were very silent meals, but Anne still remained obdurate. After each meal, Marilla carried a well-filled tray to the east gable and brought it down later on not noticeably depleted. Matthew eyed its last descent with a troubled eye. Had Anne eaten anything at all? When Marilla went out that evening to bring the cows from the back pasture, Matthew, who had been hanging about the barns and watching, slipped into the house with the air of a burglar and crept upstairs. As a general thing, Matthew gravitated between the kitchen and the little bedroom off the hall where he slept. Once in a while, he ventured uncomfortably into the parlor or sitting room when the minister came to tea. But he had never been upstairs in his own house since the spring he helped Marilla paper the spare bedroom, and that was 4 years ago. He tiptoed along the hall and stood for several minutes outside the door of the east gable before he summoned courage to tap on it with his fingers, and then opened the door to peep in. Anne was sitting on the yellow chair by the window, gazing mournfully out into the garden. Very small and unhappy she looked, and Matthew's heart smote him. He softly closed the door and tiptoed over to her. Anne, he whispered, as if afraid of being overheard. How are you making it, Anne? Anne smiled wanly. Pretty well. I imagine a good deal, and that helps to pass the time. Of course, it's rather lonesome, but then I may as well get used to that. Anne smiled again, bravely facing the long years of solitary imprisonment before her. Matthew recollected that he must say what he had come to say without loss of time, lest Marilla return prematurely. Well now, Anne, don't you think you'd better do it and have it over with, he whispered. It will have to be done sooner or later, you know, for Marilla's a dreadful determined woman. Dreadful determined, Anne. Do it right off, I say, and have it over. Do you mean apologize to Mrs. Lynde? Yes, apologize. That's the very word, said Matthew eagerly. Just smooth it over, so to speak. That's what I was trying to get at. I suppose I could do it to oblige you, said Anne thoughtfully. It would be true enough to say I'm sorry, because I am sorry now. I wasn't a bit sorry last night. I was mad clear through, and I stayed mad all night. I know I did because I woke up 3 times and I was just furious every time. But this morning, it was over. I wasn't in a temper anymore, and it left a dreadful sort of goneness too. I felt so ashamed of myself, and I just couldn't think of going and telling Mrs. Lynde so. It would be so humiliating. I made up my mind. I'd stay shut up here forever rather than do that. But still, I'd do anything for you if you really want me to. Well, now, of course I do. It's terrible lonesome downstairs without you. Just go and smooth things over. That's a good girl. Very well, said Anne resignedly. I'll tell Marilla as soon as she comes in. I've repented. That's right, Anne. But don't tell Marilla I said anything about it. She might think I was putting my all in, and I promise not to do that. Wild horses won't drag the secret from me, promised Anne solemnly. How would wild horses drag a secret from a person anyhow? But Matthew was gone, scared at his own success. He fled hastily to the remotest corner of the horse pasture lest Marilla should suspect what he had been up to. Marilla herself, upon her return to the house, was agreeably surprised to hear a plaintive voice calling, Marilla, over the banisters. How old? She's 11. This is very early on, so she's 11. She just turned 11. Well, she said, going into the hall. I'm sorry I lost my temper and said rude things, and I'm willing to go and tell Mrs. Lynde so. I woke up 3 times, and all 3 times I was angry. I like that phrase. Yeah, she was pissed. Very well, Marilla's crispness gave no sign of her relief. She had been wondering what under the canopy she should do if Anne did not give in. I'll take you down after milking. Accordingly, after milking, behold Marilla and Anne walking down the lane, the former erect and triumphant, the latter drooping and dejected. But halfway down Anne's dejection vanished as if by enchantment. She lifted her head and stepped lightly along, her eyes fixed in the sunset sky and an air of subdued exhilaration about her. Marilla held the change disapprovingly. She was no meek penitent, such as it behooved her to take into the presence of the offended Mrs. Lynde. What are you thinking of, Anne? She asked sharply. I'm imagining out what I must say to Mrs. Lynde, answered Anne dreamily. This was satisfactory, or should have been so, but Marilla could not rid herself of the notion that something in her scheme of punishment was going askew. Anne had no business to look so rapt and radiant. Oh, man. Rapt and radiant Anne continued until they were in the very presence of Mrs. Lynde, who was sitting knitting by her kitchen window. She was radiant. She was drooping and she was dejected and everything. And then all of a sudden she's like, head up, shoulders back, radiant. Mrs. Lynde, who was sitting knitting by her kitchen window. She's a diva. Then their radiance vanished. Mournful penitence appeared on every feature. Before a word was spoken, Anne suddenly went down on her knees before the astonished Mrs. Rachel and held out her hand beseechingly. Oh, Mrs. Lynde, I'm so extremely sorry, she said with a quiver in her voice. I could never express all my sorrow. No, not if I used up a whole dictionary. You must just imagine it. I behaved terribly to you, and I've disgraced the dear friends, Matthew and Marilla, who have let me stay at Green Gables, although I'm not a boy. I'm a dreadfully wicked and ungrateful girl, and I deserve to be punished and cast out by respectable people forever. It was very wicked of me to fly into a temper because you told me the truth. It was the truth. Every word you said was true. My hair is red, and I'm freckled and skinny and ugly. What I said to you was true too, but I shouldn't have said it. Oh, Mrs. Lynde, please, please forgive me. If you refuse it, it will be a lifelong if you refuse, it will be a lifelong sorrow on a poor little orphan girl. Would you, even if she had a dreadful temper? Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't. Please say you forgive me, Mrs. Lynde. Anne clasped her hands together, bowed her head, and waited for the word of judgment. There was no mistaking her sincerity. It breathed in every tone of her voice. Both Marilla and Mrs. Lynde recognized its unmistakable ring. But the former understood in dismay that Anne was actually enjoying her valley of humiliation, was reveling in the thoroughness of her abasement. Where was the wholesome punishment upon which she, Marilla, had plumed herself? Anne had turned it into a species of positive pleasure. Marilla felt betrayed. Yes. Good, Mrs. Lynde, not being overburdened with perception, did not see this. She only perceived that Anne had made a very thorough apology, and all resentment vanished from her kindly, if somewhat officious heart. There, get up, child, she said heartily. Of course I forgive you. I guess I was a little too hard on you. Anyway, but I'm such an outspoken person. You just mustn't mind me. That's what. It can't be denied your hair's terrible red, but I knew a girl once, went to school with her, in fact, whose hair was every mite as red as yours when she was young, but when she grew up it darkened into a real handsome auburn. I wouldn't be a mite surprised if yours did too, not a mite. Oh, Mrs. Lynde! Anne drew a long breath as she rose to her feet. You have given me a hope. I shall always feel that you are a benefactor. Oh, I could enjoy anything if I only thought my hair would be a handsome auburn when I grew up. It would be so much easier to be good if one's hair was a handsome auburn, don't you think? And now may I go out into your garden, sit on that bench under the apple trees while you and Marilla are talking. There's so much more scope for imagination out there. She's really good with words. Laws, yes, run along, child, and you can pick a bouquet of them, white June lilies, over in the corner if you like. As the door closed behind Anne, Mrs. Lynde got briskly up to light a lamp. Hello, Yuzdo. I don't get the hate for red hair back then. I think it's just anything that's different gets hate. Because red hair isn't as common as dark hair or blonde hair. And anything different, people just don't take it too well. They get threatened. They feel threatened. She's a real odd little thing. Take this chair, Marilla. It's easier than the one you've got. I just keep that for the hired boy to sit on. Yes, she certainly is an odd child, but there's something kind of taking about her after all. I don't feel so surprised at you and Matthew keeping her as I did, nor so sorry for you either. She may turn out all right. Of course, she has a queer way of expressing herself a little too well, too kind of forcible, you know, but she'll likely get over that now that she's come to live among civilized folks. And then her temper's pretty quick, I guess. But there's one comfort. A child that has a quick temper just blaze up and cool down. Ain't never likely to be sly or deceitful. Preserve me from a sly child, that's what. On the whole, Marilla, I kind of like her. When Marilla went home, Anne came out of the fragrant twilight of the orchard with a sheaf of white narcissi in her hands. I apologized pretty well, didn't I? She said proudly as they went down the lane. I thought since I had to do it, I might as well do it thoroughly. You did it thoroughly, all right enough, was Marilla's comment. Marilla was dismayed at finding herself inclined to laugh over the recollection. She had also an uneasy feeling that she ought to scold Anne for apologizing so well, but then that was ridiculous. She compromised with her conscience by saying severely, I hope you won't have occasion to make many more such apologies. I hope you'll try to control your temper now, Anne. That wouldn't be so hard if people wouldn't twit me about my locks. My looks. My looks, not my locks. My looks, said Anne with a sigh. I don't get cross about other things, but I'm so tired of being twitted about my hair, and it just makes me boil right over. Do you suppose my hair will really be a handsome auburn when I grow up? You shouldn't think so much about your looks, Anne. I'm afraid you are a very vain little girl. Yeah, technically her locks as well, yeah. How can I be vain when I know I'm homely? Protested Anne. I love pretty things, and I hate to look in a glass and see something that isn't pretty. It makes me feel so sorrowful, just as I feel when I look at any ugly thing. I pity it because it isn't beautiful. Handsome is as handsome does, quoted Marilla. I've had that said to me before. But I have my doubts about it, remarked skeptical Anne, sniffing at her narcissi. Narcissi! Narcissi? Narcissi. Oh, aren't these flowers sweet? It was lovely of Mrs. Lynde to give them to me. I have no hard feelings against Mrs. Lynde now. It gives you a lovely, comfortable feeling to apologize and be forgiven, doesn't it? Aren't the stars bright tonight? If you could live in a star, which one would you pick? I like that lovely, clear, big one away over there above that dark hill. Anne, do hold your tongue, said Marilla, thoroughly worn out trying to follow the gyrations of Anne's thoughts. Anne said no more until they turned into their own lane. A little gypsy wind came down it to meet them, laden with the spicy perfume of young dew-wet ferns. Far up in the shadows, a cheerful light gleamed out through the trees from the kitchen at Green Gables. Anne suddenly came close to Marilla and slipped her hand into the older woman's hard palm. It's lovely to be going home, and I know it's home, she said. I love Green Gables already, and I've never loved any place before. No place ever seemed like home. Oh, Marilla, I'm so happy. I could pray right now and not find it a bit hard. Something warm and pleasant welled up in Marilla's heart at touch of that thin little hand on her own. A throb of the maternity she had missed, perhaps. Its very unaccustomedness and sweetness disturbed her. She hastened to restore her sensations to their normal calm by inculcating a moral. If you'll be a good girl, you'll always be happy, Anne. And you should never find it hard to say your prayers. Say one's prayers isn't exactly the same thing as praying, said Anne meditatively. But I'm going to imagine that I'm the wind that is blowing up there in those treetops. When I get tired of the trees, I'll imagine I'm gently waving down here in the ferns, and then I'll fly over to Mrs. Lynde's garden and set the flowers dancing, and then I'll go with one great sweep over the clover field, and then I'll blow over the lake of shining waters and ripple it all up into tiny little sparkling waves. Oh, there's so much scope for imagination in a wind, so I'll not talk any more just now, Marilla. Thanks be to goodness for that, breathed Marilla in devout relief. Marilla will no doubt be Anne's accomplice one of these days. And no, Matthew. Your readings making me want to watch new Anne Shirley anime. Bro, I seen short clips of it. I don't remember a lot of the story, but I've seen short clips of it. But yeah, that was chapter 10. She will be going to school next chapter, so we might as well leave it there. Matthew. Oh my goodness. No 11. No. Matthew. Goated with a sauce? With what sauce? Bro, Matthew. We can chill for a little bit before we end and write out. We can chill for a little bit. What time is it? It's 9:59. 9:59. Books a roller coaster. Bro, Anne's brain. It's like you're trying to follow an ADHD's brain. She's just going from one thing to another. Like in one huge paragraph, she's just talking, and she talks about like 2 through 3 different topics in one paragraph. Your Wi-Fi is tripping? Oh no. What happened to Wi-Fi? Let me enjoy my audiobook. I'm sorry. Your audiobook. Ay. You should try reading Antigone. It's morphing time. Wait, Antigone? Antigone. Athenian tragedy. Oh.
Hello, you.
It broke. Oh no, it broke. Oh no, it broke.
Watch you stream on days when my depression is really beating my butt. Thanks for showing me that the only thing bigger than myself to uptease your
Oh god, I need a better TTSing. I'm sorry. The TTS. I gotta go for volunteering. Just want to say, love coming to watch the stream on days when depression is really beating my butt. Thanks for showing me that the only thing bigger than my self-doubt is your forehead. What? It's just like alien. There was an accent. I'm gonna have to change it. Thank you, Gemini. Forehead. How do you know my forehead's big? Wait, like real life forehead is big as well. Wait, I need to check on the alien. Let me just see. Hang on. Let me try to fix it. I need a non-accented one now. Where is my TTS thing? Kill it. I'm thinking some people have TTS Monster or something, whatever it's called. And I'm tempted to get that. Shit, what is it called? You can kind of use your you can kind of make it have sound effects and different voices. Or the tic-tac-toe VOD. Oh. Oh. Oh, my forehead. Wait. How do I do this? Let's just do Australian. What was that? I have no idea what accent that was. There's an Australian. I might need to use a new TTS thing though. Can you do Minecraft content? I've never played Minecraft in my life. I have a 5 head, but also I've never played Minecraft in my life. Yeah. Chicken jockey? Chicken jockey? Huh? What? What? Oh, can I switch to just chatting? Yay! Minecraft movie reference. I have not seen it. I have not seen it. I haven't seen a lot of movies recently. I want to see the new Final Destination. But no one's talking about it, so I'm just thinking it might actually suck. Maybe it just sucks, that's why no one's talking about it. The Minecraft movie is Microsoft's hate letter to Notch. What the hell's Notch? Who's Notch? What's Notch? Why is Notch? Who's Notch? Why is Notch? Original dev? Oh. Oh. Not crow chatting today. I just undid a beanie that I did because it was so lopsided. I'm trying to redo it. Yeah. Kind of thing a normie would ask, what do you mean? When's the social gathering? Tomorrow night? I'm not ready for it. I'm so scared. What if I know I hate socializing for one, but also I feel like there will be people who work for my previous company. Like, I didn't work with them, I worked at a different location, but I feel like there will definitely be people from my previous company there, and I still hold a grudge. I'm still mad. I still hold a grudge about it, and I'm concerned that I might not be able to hold myself back. Worst fear of social gathering, what if they talk to me? Yeah. Be like Anna, forgive him. Yeah, give him a whole paragraph. Wear something intimidating. But it would just be work clothes. I'll wear all black. I'll be in all black. Easy. Intimidation. All black. No, it's not their fault. Because it was nothing against them. It was the company itself and my bosses who worked at a different location. Wear funeral clothes. Wear all black, then wear your Crocs. It's too cold for Crocs. It's too cold. And I think, wait, let me check if it will rain tomorrow. Will it rain tomorrow? It's raining now. With socks? Crocs with socks? It'll be really windy. Oh, it's cold tomorrow. Yeah, it's cold. We're edging into winter now. Too cold. Yeah, it's I'm in Australia, so it's winter is June, July, August. I'm in Australia. Yeah, it's June, July, August, so I'm sort of heading into winter. 2 layers? No! My feet will get so sweaty. I don't like it. I don't like sweaty feet. No. Spider rain season? What's spider rain season? What's spider rain season? Spider rain? I'm gonna look that up. Spider rain? The spiders that rain their babies on people? Spider rain. Australia, hang on. Black Hills? I don't have Black Hills. Oh! Where does it happen? It's common in May and August. Where? I feel like it's common in country. Yeah, it's spider rain, so I heard about this. It's when the tiny spiders and the webs come down from the sky, and they kind of come down in like large numbers, and it's like it covers the whole area. Like in Bloodborne, I have no idea. Spider rain. But no, I don't think it happens in my area. Crocodile? Hot drop? What's hot drop? Hot drop. Things similar, they're not trying to kill you. How do you know? How do you know they're not trying to kill you? Either raining crocodiles or Florida mans. Ah. Hot drop. Ah, battle. That's what it's called. Oh. Oh. Interesting. It's a 2-hour situation. It's dinner. At a restaurant or a hotel. So I do kind of have to stay for most of it. I can leave early, but I kind of have to stay for most of it. Can't you just eat and say, oh, I'm sick? And then I shouldn't have been there if I was sick. I'll be that socially awkward person, just kind of, you know, eyes down. But yeah, free food. Who can resist? Free food! Can say something came up? I'm so bad at lying. I'm really bad at lying. Can you at least group up with people you can handle being around with? I actually don't. I don't know who's going. I had to go to a funeral. My PC died. I don't know who's going. That's the thing. It's a networking event, so I actually don't know who's going. Come with me. It's in the middle of nowhere at a hotel restaurant. I'll be the one to eat half the watermelon. I don't think there will be watermelon. Is it the season for watermelon? I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think it's... What time is it? The event? It will be at 6:30. So I'll be hanging around for a bit after work. Or I probably will go home for a bit and then go. Or can I just hang around? I don't really have much to do though. It gets so dark, so I'm not sure if I want to hang around. It's on the stake. I don't even know what's there. Hang on, let me... Wait, what is it called? Just turn on autopilot. I'm autopilot every day. Let me see, where is it? Hello, MV. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Oh shit. Hope you are too. Tickets? Across the entire planet, I'll probably get there in time. There's no tickets. It's literally I sign up with my account. Okay, I'm gonna look up the restaurant menu. See a man in tailback suit wearing yellow Crocs with 3 layers socks. That's me. Right, let's see. Dining. Menu. Dinner menu. Purple head girl. Oh. Huh? Warmed olives. Warmed olives. That's in the menu. Okay, not going. They have a grill with steak and surf and turf. But why is it warmed? Mains. Why is it just cauliflower? It's so expensive. I'm going, it's so expensive. Oh, it's so expensive. I'm going. I get the olives, damn. The prices. Wait, think about it this way. Australian to USD, I mentally times 2. I mentally times 2 Australian prices to get my approximate equivalent, and probably overestimation in USD, okay? And the range here for the mains, the lowest is $29 and the highest is $41. So mentally, it will be from approximate USD, possibly overestimating, $58 to $82 per meal. Follow add us on Discord if you need to pretend to talk to people. Yeah, it's worth it. The $41 is salmon. What the hell's myrtle? Lemon myrtle. Lychee puree. Huh? Wait, lychee puree? 41 Australian dollars. Which is whatever it is in your currency. Lychee puree? Hello, Cherry. Lychee puree. Rather have raw lychee. Yeah, give me raw lychee, but why is it with salmon? For events like this, I usually say hello, eat, then leave. It's a talking one, so we share cases, we talk, and we interact. That's the whole purpose of it. How much is that in real money? How much is it in your currency? I don't know. It's 41 AUD. Yeah, we're eating fancy. And one of the mains dish is called cauliflower. It's literally just cauliflower, and it's $33. Get your cue cards ready. $33 for cauliflower? Damn! It's just, yeah, no! It's $33 for flavored white broccolis. Are you talking about med stuff? We're talking about, not med stuff, but health stuff? Patient stuff? But $33 for flavored white broccoli. Damn. Wow. For $33, I'll stay home and cook myself. No, but this is paid for. I'm not paying for it. It's free for me. I'm not paying for it. It's free food. That's why I'm going. Yeah, we're going. We're eating good. Why do the kids get ice cream? Where's my ice cream? Oh, I got fancy ice cream. No, they're not ice cream. What is this vegan event? Go to salon? Wait, salon? Yeah, it's free. I'm eating it all. Damn. Hair salon? Why? Yeah, why? Why do I need to get my hair done? Also, I'm not going to any of the hair salons in the area. They're all just white people. For the event? Nah, it's a social event. I can't get my hair done by white people. They'll mess it up. Either start go bold or Ikem Bokum, huh? Hello Jojo. Well, what are you talking about? I'm going to a social event tomorrow and I'm just looking up the menu. And I'm going because it's free food and the food is very expensive there. Very expensive, a little bit too expensive for what it is. I'll be fine. I just really don't want to go. Because I don't have wood. That's why I'm going. Oh, I have the spicy noodles. I have the bulldog spicy noodles. Willingness, great food is great. Yeah. Good food is very important. Don't you dare eat that again before the event. Don't forget to bring chat takeout. Should I? Takeout? Do you not remember your tummy hurting? Oh, I haven't eaten it for a few days. I'll be fine. Expensive enough to slow through socializing people. Yes. Chongqing noodles? I don't know what that is. I'll be fine. If I suffer, and I know it's my fault. Oh yeah. Spicy noodles. Ah. I miss having malatan, man. I miss having malatang. There's no malatang in the area. Always bring tapas to store at home. I'm not sure if that's the sort of event for it. Bring chats on steak. I'll take photos for you guys, and then that's your food. Taco Tuesday. Always forget to bring food to chat. There's no food left in the basement. There's no basement. It's not a basement. You love this song? Look, yeah, I'll send you guys photos and you can just lick the phone screen. You're eating KV? KV is an emergency ration if you guys didn't know. Custom-made handbag with toppers for food-related emergencies. Oh. KV is emergency ration. Yes. Raccoon tax? What? Everyone wants KV. Raccoon tax? Just want to bite. All social functions are required to release some food for raccoons. Ah, okay. Oh wait, let me see. I made a set of emotes just because Syllabus keeps wanting to eat KV as well. I made that because of that. Yeah. It's okay, you're safe. You'll be safe in Kika's mouth. You'll be safe in my Tupperware. Emus occupy the coon niche in Australia. Coon? Ah, yes, emus. Emus and bin chickens. Emus and bin chickens. I sometimes see tourists taking photos of the bin chickens. It's kind of funny. There's some tourists even here. How come eating me is always part of some conversation? Because you're yummy. Because you're yummy. I'm inside. I just want to protect. No, Kuru started it. When was this? 2023? Was it 23, which was Alice? No. Maybe early 2024 or mid to late 2023. I was playing Atlas Madness Returns. You're delectable the way you are. Everyone wants to eat KV now. Yeah, I was playing Alice. Yeah. I want to see. What is speakers that go on stage for this event? No, it's a small event. It's a small event. It's just a small social event where people in my field in the area, early career people come together and meet and eat. It's, yeah, it will be a small event. Fingers crossed that people you don't want to see are not. No. The thing is, The people I don't want to see, they didn't do anything wrong. I have no idea who they are. I just know I will see them. What it is I previously worked for a big company, and that big company was so toxic. Yes, I just hate people. Was so toxic. It actually took around 5 months for me to recover mentally, and because there's a big company that have different locations, so the people I'll be meeting this time around who work for the company, never met them. They have no idea who I am. Yeah, meet, greet, and eat KV. Millionaire? It's quite literally a few people. Snacks. Ooh, what do you get from Japan and China? What did you get? Share, please. Share, please. No. We want to eat KV. Chocolate trail mix, cup ramen, candied plums. Ooh. What's KV? KV is Twitch mod and someone who's just there every time. I don't know. How do you describe KV? What is a KV? Yeah, that is a KV. Yes, thanks to hydrate. That is a KV. KV's in the walls, yeah. Oh, it was food. KV is food. Emergency ration, yes. Emergency ration since 2023, 2024? I need an art of this. I just thought of it. I need an art of this. So you know the little guy crying in the corner? That's my mascot, and that's also like a chat representation. And I'm thinking of one in the middle while the others are pulling at the legs and arms, fighting. And the one in the middle is just gone. Don't want to be there. They're fighting over the emergency ration. That's an idea. I visualize it, but likely it's not going to get done. I'm visualizing it. Catalogue of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's work. Huh? But yeah. RIP KV22. Yes, gone too soon. I only realized this recently. KV22 followed since June 22, 2022. Coincidence? KV23. His fault for being edible. His fault for being delectable. Wah! I think for 22. Coincidence? I think not. A friend, why food shape? Exactly. Exactly. Shall we raid? Gonna bye. Shall we also raid out? Gonna raid out. Where do we raid out? Bye bye. Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We're gonna raid into Chi. We're gonna raid Chi. Let's raid Chi. Chi drawing. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Bye bye. Bye, YouTube. Bye bye.